In this video, we're going to focus on the idea of mean, which is lesson 1 in our statistics unit, and are looking at statistics and probability. Mean should be a review for most of you, so that's why we're going to do it at a self-paced lesson so that you can kind of work through it at your own ability level. If you take a look, they're going to launch us off with a real-world link, and it says that Tina and her friends downloaded songs for 6 weeks, as shown in the table. A lot of times when you're working with data, you're going to now start seeing tables again of data, tables of numbers with labels, so make sure that you're taking it all in and you're understanding what the question's asking you. You're going to go ahead and go through and answer each question using the table above, and then you're going to check your answers. So by now you figured out that the average of the amount of songs downloaded per week would be about 7 songs because the total was 42 and the number of weeks was 6. So you're going to go ahead and continue to work through your questions. So now on the number line, draw an arrow that points to the average and plot the number of songs downloaded on the number line. So you're going to go ahead and plot each point that represents the number of songs from the table, and then you're going to go ahead and answer numbers 4, 5, and 6 based off of the information that you have on the number line. So now go ahead and take a look at my screen and take a look at your paper and check your answers for numbers 4, 5, and 6. You'll notice that once you check your answers, you'll see that there's kind of a balance between the mean being 7 and how many spaces there are from each data point on the lower half and on the upper half. This is because the mean kind of balances out our data and it finds that balanced middle point based off of the information that we're given. Go ahead and flip to page 2 of your packet, and you'll notice at the top of the packet that it defines the word mean for you. So the mean of a data set is the sum of the data divided by the number of pieces of data. It is the balance point for the data set. So once again, this balance point right here, okay? So that's something to keep in mind. That's why we add up all the data values and then divide by how many numbers there are, because we're trying to find that balance point where we can kind of split the data up. On the previous page, you found a single number to describe the number of songs downloaded each week. The average, or mean, summarizes the data using a single number. In some cases, you'll get a decimal, some cases you'll get a fraction, or a whole number. You can find the mean of a set of data shown in different displays, such as pictographs and dot plots. So if you take a look at our first example, it says find the mean number of representatives for the 4 states shown in the pictograph. Notice how this is where they're starting and this is where they're ending. They're moving the extra figures or people so that they're equally distributing each person, and from there they're able to figure out that each state has a mean or average of 8 representatives. We're not going to draw a picture for every single example that we're going to go through. We're going to use the mathematical formula instead. However, to kind of get you thinking, go ahead and figure out what the table is showing. So the table is showing the number of CDs purchased, and figure out the mean number of CDs the group bought. So the first thing you want to do is go ahead and line up the numbers, add them all together, find your sum, and then divide to find your final average or your mean. So go ahead and take a look at what I drew on my screen, and you'll see that I added all of my numbers up. So if you see that I'm adding all of my numbers up, notice I'm including my 0 in there, and it still gets me that sum of 15, and then I have to divide by 5 data values because there are 5 data values in my table. I can't just ignore the 0, that's still a data value. So be careful when you're finding the mean that you're including all of the numbers, including the number 0. Go ahead and flip to page 3. On page 3, you're going to see a dot plot right here where it says high temperatures. And just as a reminder, in a dot plot, individual data values are represented as dots above a number line. So if you take a look, for example, at 45, there are 2 dots. That means that we would list 45 2 times. So I'm going to take this data and I'm going to rewrite it. And then I'm going to find the sum of the data. Notice that once again on the bottom, my division part, I'm dividing by 6 because of that being the number of data items or dots on my line plot or dot plot. And then I get an answer of 48. So the mean average temperature is 48 degrees. So you're going to go ahead and do the same thing in example 3, and it says the dot plot shows the number of runs a baseball team had for each game of a 4-game series. Find the mean number of runs for the series. So once again, take a look at the numbers that are represented on the dot plot, and you're going to fill in your information and then find the mean number of runs for the series. So if you take a look, now the answers are filled in for you, and you see that the mean number of runs for the series was 3. If we go ahead and keep moving down to the Got It Part B, go ahead and do the same thing for the Got It section in Part B. Once again, you'll see that the dot plot is showing the number of books read. So Deanna read an average or a mean number of 3 books overall or for her total. So we have 1 book, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4. So we're taking a look at all of these books that she read each week, and then we're finding the average of that, which would be 3. The last part that we're going to take a look at is working backwards to find a missing data point. And this is going to kind of pull in our idea of algebra. And in example number 4, go ahead and take a few seconds and read over that, and then we're going to talk through it together. So as you saw, it asked you how many minutes did she talk on her cell phone during the 6th month. So they give us data points for 5 months. We have to figure out what the 6th month is equal to. Notice that they give us the mean, and they tell us that the mean is 532 minutes. If we know that we have a total of 6 months, we're going to take that 532 and multiply it times 6, because this is going to have to be our total in order to find the mean. So if you take a look at what I put over here, I put the total sum divided by 6 would get us the mean. We don't know what the total sum is exactly. We do know that the total sum of all 6 numbers needs to be 3,192. Then we know that we needed to divide that by 6 in order to figure out the mean. But they're giving us the mean. So that's why we need to work backwards to figure out what our missing data point is, because we know that this is 532. So I need to multiply, I need to do my one-step equation, multiply by 6 on both sides to figure out what my answer is going to be. Once I multiply by 6, I see that I get 3,192. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 missing 6 that has to add up to 3,192. Notice that they're taking this 3,192 and they're subtracting all of the data values that I already know. And in that case, that's going to get me a difference of 542. So it would be equal to the missing 6 data value, or the 6th month, will be 542. So Marielle talked 542 minutes during the 6th month. Go ahead and take some time now and work through your 2 guided practice questions. Notice that in the first guided practice, you're finding the mean. In the second guided practice, you're finding the greatest depth if the average or the mean was 8.094. So you're figuring out what is this missing piece that's down here at the bottom of my table. So go ahead and check your answers. You should have 7 beads sold. And then for number 2, you should have 7.24 kilometers for the southern depth of the ocean.